So, sometimes you want to be something else. You want to be something that doesn't have legs, Now, I'm gonna say wink, wink, nudge, nudge. These are basically one-T abominations because some people like the idea. Some people like that because it's so weird. Because not only you don't have legs, you slither around the place. What? How do you use a ladder? Well, better use that upper body strength. Um, I think this race came off a bit too strong. It's very difficult to nit and pick and take the essence out of something that's a lot of things at once. But that aside, I think their general approach we're going to take is a bit of a lizard folky approach. They're called calculating hunters, and they tend to make themselves large. But their real power, their real strength, is in the brain space. They got a good brain on their head. I might just make it they get a +2 to any mental score they want, and they give them +1 to any physical score they want. Because there's a lot of flexibility. But for that, I probably need to tone it down a bit more. But man, I like this one. I might do Angel Scaling soon. I might get back to translation and finish that up and actually get that shit done. Because I feel ready. I feel ready. Other than that, let's get talking about this. So, Nagafolk, because you want to be something funky. You want to be something that really, like, pushes the limits on, okay, you're getting just weird now. The thing with Nagafolk is the instant you introduce them, you need to start explaining, okay, do people still have stairs? Because once you have things that don't have legs, a lot of, like, humans' constructs don't work. Stairs is one of them. Certain structures like beds don't make as much sense. Because these things don't deal with beds very well. Chairs, like, suddenly a lot of surfaces and like, design elements don't work. And you have to think about that. And that's fun, because, for one, it gives the GM a lot to cook on. So what are they like? Let's just focus on what they're like. Nagafolk they're hunters. They come out of the landscape, they were hunters. I think their abilities show what they are, what they did. They have invisibility, they can pick suggestion, they can pick poison spray. Every 5 levels they get another one of these. They're very clearly, like, mentally and physically very fit. So in society, what are they going to do? Well, people are going to focus on the physical element of them. They look spooky, they look scary. They probably have big fangs. They're not necessarily the, like, painful fangs, but they're there. And people will be like, oh no! Man, I like the idea that they can use poison spray, like, either on its own or, like, as a bite. Like, they bite you and they poison spray. But that's all mechanical stuff. Nagafolk, they live... They live for the hunt. They live for the, I got something to show over my fireplace, Like, they want the big score, the big hit. They don't care who they work with. Nagafolk are not picky. Which we're going to get to in a second with warlocks, because they have an interesting interaction with warlocks. The point is, if you're a Nagafolk, if you're going to go with one, if you're going to have them in your world like this, you need to think about how do they fit in? How do they work with society? Because they're not the best for society, Like, they might work in a place where there's lots of sports. Like, if there's sports, if there's, like, a big arena or a coliseum, you're going to find Nagafolk there. Because they want the honor, the pride, the big flair, They love the spotlight, ironically, despite being, like, very quiet hunters. They're also pack hunters, surprisingly. Because hunting on your own is all glorious and shit, but if you don't come back alive, it's not worth it. So they're a bit pragmatic. But you can easily, like, get them on a bet, and they'll, like, okay, I can do that, and they'll just do it, even if it's a stupid thing to do. But most importantly, they're imposing. They can coil up high. They can make a burst of speed and just come after you. You can't outclimb them. You can't outswim them. They're faster than you in any situation that's not running. And even in running, they can probably burst catch you instantaneously, which gives them a very unique edge. Like, they're good for first, but then they kind of level out and become like everyone else. Disadvantage of dexterity saving throws, because I like the idea that this monster, this scaly monster, is kind of stuck in place. They can't instantly dart out of the way. They can dart forward, but if you try to stab at their legs, they're still there. Like, their tail takes a bit to catch up. Sleight of hand and stealth checks they're so big. They're so big, they don't hide well. They gotta worry about their tail. And sleight of hand mostly because it's kind of awkward. Because they can't just lean over too easily without their whole body shifting. So let's move on. Like, how do I see them working? Well, it's Dragonborn. As they are hirelings and hunters, they don't necessarily have a place. They're sort of establishing themselves. What are their communities like? It's a good question that I haven't answered yet. What are their communities like? Well, their communities are probably like hunters. They live in the forest. They don't care too much about, like, money and stuff. They probably do trade. Like, they trade furs and pelts and everything they can miss that they don't find too glorious to hold on to. And they use it to buy, like, big things. To be like, ha, look at how much money I made. And it's all contests to them. It's all, like, competition. That's nice. I like that idea. But at the same time, despite being arrogant, despite being cocky about everything, strangely enough... Are they cocky? Yeah, they're notoriously arrogant. It's a fun idea, isn't it? That something is arrogant but doesn't care about honor. It's like, I just want to be good. Man, you can't see my gesture, so that doesn't help. So, they don't care who they work with. A Nagafolk is not going to look in your eyes and go, I don't know what kind of person you are. They just say, there's money, I want money, maybe I'll get a good fight. They're Mandalorians, basically. It's like, at the end of the day, the big, glorious thing is what matters. Like, there's a big... Like, they make easy adventures, because adventuring is like a great way to get some prestige. Like, prestige is an end goal to them, which often leads to their societies having really good people that just kind of die because they do something stupid because they really want to prove themselves. It's an interesting dynamic, because on one end, it means they have some of the most skilled and dangerous hunters in the world, some of the most powerful spellcasters of the land. On the other hand, they're incredibly likely to die because they try something stupid because they want to make prestige for themselves. Ain't that a hoot? Yeah, man, I'm so excited to do some... So moving on. So, how do they implement... Oh, wow, great. That was very funky. So what kind of classes logically make sense for the Naga to be? Well, we got the Warlocks. I like the idea of the Warlock. Serpent Naga folk. Because Serpent folk is going to be something else. Although it's technically the same thing. I'm going to have to work on that. But hey, that's my problem. The Nagafolk Warlock makes the most sense. Like, they want power and prestige. They're gonna sign up with someone. They don't care who they work for. Like, to them, a noble is the same as a pact. You're signing up with someone, and at some point you're gonna backstab him. Maybe. Because the funny thing is, you can trust them as far as you can pay them. But once you run out of, like, stuff to give them, they'll just go, like, okay, I'm done. I'm out. And they leave. They've got no reason to stick around because you have nothing to offer them that's worth their time. As a result, they tend to have some friction with, like, contracts, because the contract says they have to stay, and they're like, no, I don't want to stay, because there's nothing here for me. Which can lead to some interesting legal disputes. Of course, because they're sharp of mind, they make for great lawyers. Like, I like the idea that their sharpest part is they're just good. They got good brains on their heads, in their heads, and that's their key distinct advantage, is they think. But that also means they're kind of slow. Like, they strike fast, but that's only after they have a plan. So they'll sit there, and they'll look, and they'll go, how would I handle this? And they sort of tilt their head side to side, analyzing a situation from every possible angle, and then eventually they make a maneuver. Whatever they'll do, it's going to be good, but it takes a while to get there. You know, it's something to consider, is if you strike first, you can take the advantage. But at some point, they're gonna have a plan of their own, and you better be running them. Spellcasters, as I said, they're very mentally sharp. And they're also physically imposing, so they don't look like spellcasters. So it's very easy to tell, oh, is that guy a fighter or a spellcaster? I assume that most of them would, like, multi-class, they try to get some armor. Because once they wear armor, they look additionally imposing. Because imagine this thing wearing, like, thick hides or covered in full plate. Jesus, that'd be a spooky thing to look at, especially when he goes invisible. You're like, okay, I don't know what to expect until I get conked on the head from behind. Ugh. So that's cool. That's a fun little thing, ain't it? So what about fighters? Well, they're big. They might not have, like, the bonuses. Everyone's like, oh, this doesn't have the bonus. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they have the bonuses. What matters is he's big. He's big and he's dangerous and he's large. Real large. And if you're big and large, you're going to be imposing. You're going to have advantage on intimidation if your gym is like that. Maybe you don't. Maybe you have negatives on persuasion because people don't want to trust you because, you know, you're notorious for not being too trustworthy. You can take it from a lot of angles. Because ultimately, what I put down is not like the end result. Your GM can say, well, they look at this giant serpent man, and they're like, I'd rather not deal with you any further. You know, like, give the race some flesh and blood in the world itself. An important element, often overlooked, but critically vital to truly developing a player character and their race's place in the world. Of course, they're born from eggs, by the way. Man, I really do wonder, but that's besides the point. Monks. So what about monks? Well, since they all try for power and prestige, what more prestigious than to work at a place that teaches monks? Because then you come back and you're like, I've learned all these ancient fighting techniques. I am now a fighting king. And they just stand there and they demonstrate their skills to everyone else, like they're showing off. I imagine they like showing off because they're all about the prestige, all about, like, showing I'm the best. That they probably have, like, in their own little communities, they probably have, like, a lot of contests where it's like, okay, everyone show what you can do, and some judges will be like, okay, we think you're the best guy, we think you're the best guy. I imagine they have a lot of contests like that, where they just kind of show off. They probably have a lot of sports competitions where physical skill. They might have a lot of, like, mathalons, you know, like they have puzzles and tests and such. Maybe that's how you prove themselves, is you get caught by them. You're like, okay, these big, strong lizardmen, they're going to expect a test of my strength. But in reality, what they expect from you is a test of like mental wit, of like your mental acuity. Like how smart are you? How fast can you think on your feet? And they just present you with some random shit puzzles, and they're like, okay, this guy's got it. Wouldn't that be like weird? Like you get captured by these guys. They're like, okay, you son of a gun. You've been causing a lot of trouble around here. We're the guards. We're the local constabulary. We want some answers. And you're like pleading for your life. I'm like, okay, you know what? Show us your wits, boy. And they just put you in a room. They give you a book of riddles, and they expect you to solve it. Like, I just love the idea of like them putting you in a room and giving you a book of riddles. That's a fun one, isn't it? That's a fun little way of looking at it. Oh, god damn it. I completely lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, we were talking about, I was talking about, like, just think about it. Like something, these big strong guys, they don't care about that. They just want you to prove yourself. Maybe they don't even let you go. Like, they're just like, okay, you've earned some prestige. Like, you've earned back what you've lost. Like, their society doesn't really care about making right the wrongs. They just want you to prove that you did it, you did the crime, you can do the time. And to them, it's like, okay, if you can prove yourself. Maybe that's just the first time. Maybe that's just how they fuck with people. Maybe it's only the first time. Like, the first time, they just want to see, like, how good are you? Like, are you an idiot, or are you someone who actually, like, we should probably let go? Like, you're smart. Like, the plan is, either you're so stupid that you need to be protected from yourself, or you're smart enough that you won't do it again. Or at the very least, you won't get caught, you know? Like, they're like, okay. And that's how they judge things, is they just go, okay, you're smart enough to know not to do it again. And they just lean in, and they show their fangs, and they go, you're smart enough not to do this again. I like that idea. That's a very fun way of having them handle it. It's also a lot less like violent. It's like you expect them to be violent, but they're not violent. They just like prestige. They just like earning the big credits, the big rewards. And at the end of the day, if they can walk away with a big prize over blood chatter, great. But unfortunately, a lot of hunts. I imagine that they make good adventures. They also make good monster hunters, just because like they make good rangers, because they like hunting. They pick a favorite enemy. They're like, I'm gonna hunt the biggest bloody undead I can find, and I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna skin it, and I'm gonna bring it back. Or dragon, you know, it's like a dragon hunter, like years in training to hunt a dragon. And then all these tribes send one representative, and they all go together on a dragon hunt, and they all take a piece back. And it's this big thing. It's how they show unison, is they just do this big, massive event together. Like, not just a sports event, but just that. That's so great. I like that idea so much. I like that idea a lot. That's a really fun way of doing things. I should have written all of this down, but I didn't, so... But I'm not going to come back to this, most likely. But yeah. Nagafolk. Because you're a fucking scaly.